you in your vintage tie-dye sundress, turquoise rings and dust-lit cigarette, standing on the steps outside. I knew I could catch you out here solo, moon hung like a halo behind your head, bright as both your crystal eyes. And now it's out here in the open. I can tell the way you're looking at me tonight. You realize I feel it too. Forget about the words that we've been getting lost trying to find. We set up with our eyes. I feel it too. Ain't gotta say nothing out loud right now to you. I feel it too.
Welcome to Tennessee Sound Review. Today we have with us Austin James, also known as the Slow Drag. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Austin is an independent artist here in Nashville, and today we're going to talk a little bit about what brought him to Nashville and how he promotes his music. Patreon's a big part of what he does today, and maybe we can start with how you got into music to begin with.
Oh, sure. Music has been a big part of my life since I was a child. It was important to my mother that I played music and sports and read books. Those were all really a big part of my childhood. So I started playing piano when I was 5 years old. Played for years, but I didn't get into writing and playing my own music until I was a teenager. I grew up in the same house all of my life until I left my hometown for Los Angeles. And on that block, there were a handful of kids, and we grew up doing all the things, playing video games, pretending to be ninjas, riding bikes, and all that. And eventually that led to playing in a punk rock band together. So my first band got started when I was about 13 or 14. And I'm playing tunes ever since.
What took you from playing in high school to elevate your career and make it a profession? Was there a launching pad at some point?
I'd say after I moved to Los Angeles, and had been kicking around there for about a year and a half, I ran into somebody who I had met before moving, who had already been established in LA and had a project that I was aware of. So I ran into this dude, Carrick, at a coffee shop, and just mentioned to him, like, hey, I've been in town for a little bit, and I want to be playing some shows. Can I open for you sometime? It was a real green conversation looking back at it, but he let me know that his band needed a bass player, and asked me if I was interested in doing something like that. And I said yeah, because I knew the tunes, and I thought that they were cool. I didn't know that the band was pretty much a working band at that point. So, I heard the songs and I learned the tunes and went into audition. And I'd say getting into that band was the turning point between, trying to figure it out, or just sort of wading in the water to
Sure.
making a career out of it, earning money, understanding that, you can make a living in it, and there are things you have to do in order to accomplish that.
And you guys were touring then when you were with them?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
What did you like about going on tour?
It's just fun to play music every night, really. That's my favorite thing about touring.
And then what made you decide to go independent and solo?
It wasn't so much a decision as it was a situation that was forced upon me. Bands break up.
And then here we are.
I wasn't quite ready to stop playing music. And so I took some time, tried out a lot of different things that wasn't necessarily serving myself as a solo artist. I've been a hired gun in bands. I've written songs for other people. I've done some demos and production for other people. And at the end of the day, I just kind of just like playing my own music.
Where can people find you if they want to hear your original music?
You can just Google the slow drag. I've worked really hard to get the first page Google, so if you
And,
just Google the slow drag, just take your pick.
and you're using Patreon.
I am
Can you
using
talk to us
Patreon.
about Patreon? A lot of people aren't familiar with what it can provide and
Sure.
what you're able to do with it.
Sure. Patreon is a subscription-based membership platform in which you can support artists and creators. There's much, much more than just music on the platform. And I use it sort of like a fan club where if you're signed up, you can get certain perks or exclusive music or merch or whatever as a thank you for supporting the music. And in turn, you as a supporter, you get to be a direct part of the creators you're supporting. You know, if it weren't for people subscribing to Patreon, it would be much, much more difficult for me to have the freedom that I have to make music the way that I want to.
Sure. So how do they engage with you? Are you doing it through just the Patreon, or are you linking it like through your social media, or you're doing broadcasts on a regular basis?
I do mention it here and there. Patreon itself is one of those things that's like, it's not necessarily for a new listener. You know, it's something for people who have found the music, enjoyed the music. Maybe they've caught one of my online broadcasts or my podcast or something like that, and the relationship has grown a little bit. Which isn't to say that there are people who find the music or see a broadcast or hear a podcast like day one and they're ready to sign up. And there are other people that it's more of a coaxing thing and something they have to come to on their own. So, it's there and it's good to have it there. But it's like if you go to a show and you discover an opening band that you really like, and the first thing they say to you is like, hey, sign up for my fan club. It's only X amount of dollars a month. That's gonna turn you off a little bit.
Sure.
Like it's really at the end of the day, like getting people to listen is the hardest part. When you're doing something like what I'm doing, it's like I don't have a huge marketing team or a huge marketing budget, so I'm focused on one listener at a time, really. If I see that someone's potentially going to be a part of the community, not just enjoy a song or two, then I will give them some extra attention and like understand, because I have a community of great supporters who are more than just fans and listeners. If I see that in someone else, then it's special to me and worth nurturing and worth letting them know that this is a thing that's available. Patreon, I mean,
Sure. To be a part
levels
of it a
of
little more
support.
if they like.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed you have a very loyal fan base. It feels like a family.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like you go on almost every day, sometimes more than once a day,
Occasionally, yeah. Mm-hmm.
and play and very good at communicating with them, and they feel like they know you, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you see them. You've done house concerts.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I love house concerts.
And that's been a lot this year. Have you done a couple?
No, I've in fact, because I, for the last couple of years, have been really dedicated to online concerts, which is sometimes more involved than others. Sometimes I just take out my phone and log on to. Right now, I'm doing Facebook, and I'll always check out new and different platforms to broadcast the music. But I'll just take out my phone, log on, people show up, we can chat, we can sing. It's a good time. It's kind of like a hanging out around the fire vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's a really, really cool thing. But because I do that, I have not been focused on playing out live as often. So I just played my first handful of shows of the year, maybe a couple weeks ago, when we're filming this in May.
So would you say
Mm-hmm.
the key to Patreon then is investing yourself, like staying really dedicated to communicating with the fans on a regular basis? What would be the key to making Patreon work for an independent artist, in your opinion?
I'd say consistency is the key to making it work. you have to put out good stuff regularly in order to make it work. Patreon for musicians is kind of a it clashes a little bit with what musicians traditionally do in terms of cycles for their careers. Oftentimes you'll record an EP or a record, some set of tunes, and get ready to market that, and that can take 3 to 6 months, just the marketing and getting the word out, and then you would tour on those songs, and that's another 3 to 6 months. Then maybe you come back and write and record a little more. So it's like you have these chunks of things that you're doing. But Patreon itself, I think, was built with creators who put out content more regularly in mind. People like YouTubers or comic strip artists, authors, these kinds of people. So if you're able to put out content regularly through Patreon, it can be a really good thing. And I think as a musician, you have to get creative with that sometimes. Like I do tend to put out regular content on Patreon in terms of new songs or something like that. But, sometimes I'll do videos, live performance videos, lyric videos. Sometimes I'll do like, here's a draft of a phone from my song, or a draft of a song from my phone, these kinds of things. Just to keep it varied, but also episodic and consistent. And that's something I really like about Patreon. As someone who is focused on the internet, I live in a world where 5 seconds after you see something, you can forget about it.
Right.
So it's like doing something every day or at least a few times a week and making sure that you have new music and content to give people regularly, not just annually or semi-annually, has helped a lot, I think, with Patreon. Mm-hmm.
Now, your podcast,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make sure to go there. That's something you just started recently.
Mm-hmm.
And what inspired you to do that? And what is your objective, if you want to tell people about the podcast and where to find you?
Sure. The podcast you can find on my website, theslowdrag.com, as well as anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Just, again, remember to search for The Slow Drag and you'll find me. But one of the things I did not foresee happening when I decided to focus more on playing online concerts as opposed to traditional live concerts was the ease with which you can fall into a lifestyle of hermitude doing something like that. Like, if you don't got to leave your house to play shows and chat with people, quote unquote, and feel like you're doing something, like, why would you? So that first year and a half or so that I was really focused on the online concerts, I didn't go out much and I didn't immerse myself in the scene much, and I didn't see too many people or do too much, which was fine by me. I can stay home and not talk to people for days at a time. But it takes a village to build anything good, So eventually, the reality started to sink in that I'd actually have to talk to and work with other people. So I wanted to do a podcast wherein I was talking with mostly musicians and other creative individuals, mostly people who were living off of their art and artistic endeavors for 3 to 5 years, not super, super deep into it, but enough into it to where it's, they have a path carved out and they understand how to build and grow. And we can talk about the challenges of taking your passions and turning them from a hobby or a hobby that pays you into a full-time job. And, just talk about how people did that. Everybody's story I've had on the podcast is different, but there are also a lot of similarities. And when I started doing it, I wanted to give something to the other musicians in my community, and this was a good way to offer something, instead of being like, hey, let's get coffee and talk, let's hang out and talk in front of microphones. And now your fans have something that they can really appreciate, my fans have something that they can really appreciate, and we both have some kind of content on the business side, which is great.
Yeah, and I noticed you started doing a Thursday night where you bring a friend.
Mm-hmm.
and you both play music and talk.
Right.
To kind of, is that giving back as well? Kind of you're bringing in.
Absolutely. Yeah. The same thought process went into that. It's like, okay, I can't, what I did, another thing I didn't really foresee when I got into the online concerts was, I didn't know that I wouldn't build a fan base, in any particular market. It's like I have a full-time job as a musician, but like I can't really sell 10 or 15 tickets in any given market right now.
Sure.
It's a weird
Spread out.
thing. So what I can do is bring people into my world and be like, hey, I know a bunch of people who really love music and are really excited to hear new music and discover music and be a part of musicians' lives. So why don't I expose you to that audience? We can have a good time hanging out. And I feel like I'm giving something to the Nashville community, which is really, really great.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed is pretty cool is it's not always in the same genre lane that your music is. You've really brought in a variety of different creatives, and some are singer-songwriters and some of them are touring or not touring or have or will. And I like that you mix it up.
Yeah.
And it also exposes your audience to maybe a sound or an artist that they wouldn't have normally sought out. And that kind of creates a respect for more than one genre.
Right.
From audience members that maybe didn't know they liked it until they heard it.
Sure.
So that's pretty cool that you do that. Now, your music, speaking of genres, how would you classify the genre of the music you play? Because you have a variety of styles.
Sure. And when I started with the slow drag, I knew that I wouldn't have bandmates or band members helping me record the songs. And the vision at the time was that, like, I can produce these myself and I can generally choose the genres that I want, or at least not be limited by the instruments provided in the band, and not have to think about or worry about, like, oh, how are we going to pull this off live? Just make something that sounds cool, which meant that I was a little more experimental, I think, in some of the writing and recording of these songs. But at the end of the day, it's rock and roll, and it's becoming more of a controlled vision in terms of what the music is going to sound like and what it has been sounding like. And that sort of gets summed up into, I want to make something that I really would have enjoyed blasting in my car when I was 16, 17 years old, and like just getting into writing my own music for bands and things like that.
Sure.
So that's a very long way to say, like, I don't know, rock and roll that's inspired by, I think, primarily 70s classic rock, Motown, and second generation punk rock from like the 90s.
I find it a little ironic when you say that, because we didn't mention that you did spend some time with the band Hanson. So it's a little interesting that your influences are those three areas in your music today. What did you take from that experience that comes into play now in your music?
Apply a lot from touring as an opening act for Hanson musically. But what was great about that was that those experiences came fairly early on in my professional music career. And it was great to be a part of something really well put together, being run by people who, had been to countless rodeos, as it were. So you can just see how a professional operation is run. And I think being exposed to that was extremely helpful, and it's given me some insight and scope.
A lot of knowledge. Just getting to observe and watch how everything worked.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. You had that opportunity to learn.
Absolutely.
While working.
Yeah.
That's always nice. Right now you have music streaming on multiple platforms.
Sure.
What singles do you have today out on any of the streaming platforms?
Well, again, just Google the Slow Drag and your favorite streaming platform will pop up. I release a song a month in order to keep those episodic releases going, keep myself fresh in people's mind, because if you look at my social media numbers, you would not believe that I have a career. I have less than 5,000 followers on Facebook, less than 2,000 on Instagram and Twitter, less than 100 patrons on Patreon, but all that is enough. And by focusing on those people and doing things that keep them regularly in my life and keep me regularly in theirs, we're able to constantly have this stream of content, of new music, of new songs, of new experiences. And part of that is releasing a single a month.
I think you touched on something really important, and especially in your career where you're at. It's not always about the numbers. That people misconstrue that when they see those social media numbers. It can be quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes can be the best way to go. And if I'm hearing correctly, it's that the numbers may not be as high as people would expect when they see how many singles you have out there that are doing fantastic, but you have quality fans that have been there and sticking with you and are growing
Mm-hmm.
by the day.
Sure.
How do you, if you had a choice, did that happen on purpose? Do you prefer the quality over quantity? Because there is a difference.
Don't get me wrong. Like, if I could multiply the numbers in my current fan base, keep that quality going, and have it increase by 1,000-fold, that'd be amazing. But I think that a lot of musicians, or a lot of creatives in general, I'll stick with musicians for this particular metaphor, but it's like if you go to, play at some bar or some new venue, or maybe like a restaurant or some kind of like less than ideal gig, and there's 50 people there, and 46 of them are talking over your whole set and not paying attention, but 4 of them are, you've really got a choice to home in on those 4 people, and you guys have an experience together and have a great time. Or you can sit and bemoan the fact that 46 people just talked all over your set. And so, I understand that I would have certain opportunities made available to me if I had, tens of thousands of followers across these platforms and they were all clearly engaged. But at the end of the day, I'm really happy with what I have, and I see that there is potential for growth, and a lot of that is within my control, which I really do appreciate. I'm not being let down by my label right now because their marketing budget isn't big enough, or they want to push this other artists, or they don't hear a single on my record. And if I book some, am I allowed to? Yeah, you guys bleep me out if I book some shitty shows. Like, I'm booking those shows. I don't have a booking agent to blame or something like that if a
Sure.
run doesn't go well or something. But
Creative control.
absolutely. And so, it's a double-edged sword. But I know that at the end of the day, what I'm putting out there is good to some people. The major challenge is finding those people, and I also see that there are people who really care about their social media. They're concerned with those numbers, and they put in a lot of effort to get them up. And I am comforted by the fact that I am not one of those people, and that my focus is more based on the art and the music. And I'm grateful that I have the freedom to do that because of my small but mighty support group. I don't have to worry about getting thousands upon thousands of followers while I still have a bartending or waiting job.
I think that's inspiring for the up and comers to understand, like, fostering those relationships. And when you find someone that's really interested in your art that you're bringing to the table, that they should stick with that and foster it. And those 2 people can turn into 200 people, and they just have to keep at it.
Sure.
And keep putting something out there for them to enjoy. And that kind of ties into, before we go into your music, you often say Ubuntu, and you have a tattoo of it, I believe. Can you talk a little bit about what that means to you and why it's so important to your brand?
Yeah, absolutely. Ubuntu is an African phrase without a direct English translation, but roughly translates to "I am because we are," and I think perfectly represents the symbiotic relationship between artist and consumer. Um, you need one another. Like you can have the best song and play to an empty room, and is it the best song if it connects with no one? You can hang a piece of art on the wall, and if nobody experiences it, um, how you need both sides of it,
Yeah.
and that's what the
Yeah.
Ubuntu means to me. Is like I'm going to do this no matter what, but because other people are there with me, helping to make it happen, because they get something out of it,
Absolutely.
then it's happening.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful, beautiful saying,
Mm-hmm.
if that's the right way to say that.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Would you play some music for us?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe some singles that are out. Feel free to tell us a little bit about the songs.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
And then we have an audience member who will put in the hot seat and throw some questions at you.
Oh wow.
I would say Ride Hour's mission is to provide a quality service to the Middle Tennessee music scene. When you come in, we treat you like a rock star. We bring you into our family. If you haven't been here yet, you should definitely come check us out. It's a cool place.
Hey everybody, I am the Slow Drag. Gonna play some tunes for you. All of these are available on Spotify, iTunes, Deezer, wherever. Just Google the Slow Drag, listen to some tunes. This one's called Getaway Driver. Me up and laid it down. Said here's the plan. Come and pick me up right now. I can't do it alone. Stolen hearts and secret nights, loosened up each other knots we tied. I'll be your partner in crime. Let's get out of here tonight. If you wanna get away, I'll be a getaway driver. I'll do whatever it takes to pull you out of the fire. After we make our escape, I know a place we can hide out, tucked away where we'll be safe while the heat dies down. But we gotta go now. It ain't a game anymore. We're in way too deep to pretend we don't want more. I know you want more. Toss your bags in the back, I got my foot to the floor. If you wanna get away, I'll be a getaway driver. I'll do whatever it takes to pull you out of the fire. After we make our escape, I know a place we can hide out.
tucked away where we'll be safe while the heat dies down. But we gotta go now while we can cover up our tracks. Oh yeah, we gotta go now. He's still gone. She still thinks I'm coming back. If you wanna get away, babe, I wanna get away. If you wanna get away, babe, I'll be a getaway driver. I'll do whatever it takes. After we make our escape, I know a place we can hide out, tucked away where we'll be safe while the heat dies down. But we gotta go now. Oh, oh, yeah, we gotta go now. Whoa, whoa. If you wanna get away. This one's called Photograph, also available all over the internet. Come get it. I saw her in the park at winter time, yeah. By the lake as the ice skates goodbye. And for some reason I was feeling shy. Just put my eye to the lens at the shutter, and now I'm falling in love with a photograph. I'm making it up as I go along. Falling in love with a photograph of her, yeah, a girl I never met. Oh, she got my imagination running wild. She got me fantasizing like a child, but I got no name to call, a phone to dial. Just an image I get lost in every time every time I'm falling in love with a photograph. I'm making it up as I go along. Falling in love with a photograph of her, yeah, a girl I never met. Oh, I only got a piece of paper, just an image and a playful mind. It was simply a face in a photograph, yeah. That girl I never met's got me singing na 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 na. Oh, every time I'm, hey, hey, every time I'm, hey, hey, every time I'm, hey, hey, every time I'm falling in love with a photograph. I'm making it up as I go along. Falling in love with a photograph of her, yeah, a girl I never met. Oh, oh. All right, now we got this is a fun thing that might happen to other people out there. This is my #1 played song on Spotify. It's called Like Whoa. I have no idea what playlist it got on, who found it or who put it there. But just to show, like, it's a good thing if you put out some music. Somebody might like it and somebody might share it. You never know. I wish that I could recreate it, but the best I can do is just play this tune for you right now. song, lasso the moon. Hold up a boombox that's playing your favorite tune. There ain't a thing I wouldn't do. I don't know what it is, but you got that. Ooh, I just wanna know your name. Baby, tell me where you came from. I could take you where you wanna go. You got that. Ooh, I knew it when I saw your face inching closer, and my heart's racing. I just can't take it slow. You make me feel like whoa, 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 whoa. Like whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, there ain't a lot of girls out there like you. Yeah, sure, there are plenty of blue eyes, red lips and black boots, but you got that sweetness. You don't even need perfume. They'd be rich if they found a way to bottom you. I don't know what it is, but you got that. Ooh, I just wanna know your name. Baby, tell me where you came from. I can take you where you wanna go. You got that. Ooh, I knew it when I saw your face inching closer. My heart's racing. Yeah, I just can't take it slow. You make me feel like whoa, 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 whoa. Make me feel like whoa, 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 whoa. You're such a mystery, but you don't need to be. We could make history. I wanna be your toy, so drop those other boys. Don't know what it is, but I kill for a kiss and a little bit more. You got that, ooh, I just wanna know your name. Tell me where you came from. I could take you where you wanna go. You got that, ooh, I knew it when I saw your face inching closer. My heart's racing, yeah, I just can't take it slow. You make me feel like whoa, 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 whoa. Make me feel like whoa, 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 whoa. You make me feel like whoa, 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 whoa. Whew, thanks, guys. Hey. All right, last tune I'm gonna play for you is called "Roll You Up." Yeah, and again, check it out. It's on the internet, guys. Love the internet. It's where all the cool shit is. Special K and heroin, they ain't got nothing on you. Lines of cocaine, I'd blow it all away if I had to choose. I'd roll you up, smoke you every day, get out on what you say, whatever price I'd pay. I'd roll you up with some Swisher Sweets, replace the nicotine with how you look at me. I'd roll you up, ooh, 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 ooh. Clarity smoke you every day. Get out on what you say, whatever price I'd pay. I'd roll you up with some Swisher Sweets, replace the nicotine with how you look at me. I'd roll you up. Ooh, 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 I'd roll you up, smoke you every day. Get out on what you say, whatever price I'd pay. I'd roll you up with some Swisher Sweets, replace the nicotine with how you look at me. I'd roll you up. Ooh, 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 yeah. I'd roll you up. Ooh, 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 ooh.
So here at Tennessee Sound Review, we've decided to have some fun with the audience and choose one lucky guest to come up and ask any question they would like. So with that, I'll introduce Ethan.
Hey, Austin, I've got two questions for you. The first one is, during the interview portion of today's show earlier, you and Jesse were talking about having an audience out there and how the challenge is just finding that audience that appreciates what you do. And I was just hoping you could talk a little bit more about how that process looks for you and, you know, what your mindset is about finding that audience that fits for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I wish that there were some kind of magic wand to wave to just make this information readily available. But a lot of it kind of depends on what you do. Like specifically for me, what I do, I play rock and roll music, and I write and play my own songs, which means that it's important to find people who like rock and roll music, like to go out and hear songs being performed, like to go see a concert and be in that atmosphere. And the more you explore what you're doing and are comfortable with what you're doing, the more you can understand what your audience looks like. And so me specifically, some of the things that I do to help find those audiences are start by, you know, scouring the internet, which, you know, it sucks. Like we want to Google something and have the first result be the answer that we need, but you know, building a career takes a really long time and requires research. So over the last several months of my life, I have casually surfed Instagram to try to find artists that I like, you know, searching hashtags that are involved with things that I do, things like online concerts, house concerts, you know, particular tours or particular artists. And through that, I start to discover, oh, there is a pool of people who really enjoy rock and roll music, going to live music shows, and might enjoy what I'm doing. And for what I'm doing specifically, I want to build a relationship personally with as many people as I can until it all becomes too much for one person to handle. But luckily, I'm still at a point where reaching out to somebody on Instagram, shooting them a DM and being like, hey, I'm going to come play in your city. I know we've never met before, but I think you might like it. Come out and bring a friend, I'll give you a sticker or a high five or whatever, and we can have a good time. And so that's sort of a little peek into some of the strategies that I actually utilize to build an audience.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely think that's universally, applicable to any artist out there. They need to know that kind of stuff. So my second question is, if you wouldn't mind just telling any story that you think, you don't get to tell enough about a song that you wrote that you'd love for more people to know about.
Absolutely. Not a lot of people asked me to tell the story of Getaway Driver, which is a song that I played earlier today for this audience. And upon first listen, it seems like it's a really like epic romance song, which to some degree it is, but it was one of my first Nashville co-writes that I wrote with the lovely and talented Carrie Welling. And it's a song about full-on infidelity, which we really enjoyed writing in the midst of the squeaky clean country world. I mean, country's starting to smoke weed, but they're still not into infidelity. So we wrote a song about people leaving their spouses, lovers, boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever have you, to go have their very own romance, and I love that song for it. I love an atypical love song.
Thank you guys for joining us for Tennessee Sound Review, and thank you so much to the Slow Drag for having us and our amazing sponsor, Ride an Hour Studios. If you have not checked it out here in Murfreesboro, please reach out. The information will be in the description page, and if you'd like more information on how to hear more of the Slow Drag, check out www.theslowdrag.com, and you can find all of his links, and you can find his music on any streaming that you can find, Spotify in particular. Thank you so much.
I can tell the way you're looking at me tonight. You realize I feel it too. Forget about the words that we've been getting lost trying to find. We set up with our eyes. I feel it too. Ain't gotta say nothing out loud right now to you. I feel it too. And I don't notice how the floor drops out below me, how the lights and music slowly fade away, till I can't see anything except your face. And right here in this moment, all that matters is going for it. Yeah, I can tell the way you're looking at me.
Hey everyone, it's Rod Black, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in to TSR TV. Special thanks to our incredible team, Ride an Hour Studios, here in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, our partner and sponsor. Tyler Callahan, audio engineer and mixer. Ethan Morrell, website and social media. Courtney Marie Fleming, graphic design, photographer, videographer, and editor. And of course, our amazing host, VP JJ Monville. For more information, feel free to check out our website at TennesseeSoundReview.com. If you'd like to be a sponsor and help us bring more independent artists to the state of Tennessee, feel free to email us at jesse@TennesseeSoundReview.com.